Race has nothing to do with how you feel.
Nah.
No, it does not.
Listen,
You speak to majority black women, so that's where you're
and that's
coming
all I
from.
hear. But I don't hear. You know why? Because you know how I could tell? Because the marriage rates in these other women are significantly higher than in the black community.
True.
So don't come to me talking about how these other women is saying this because they're still getting married at the end of the day. These feminists, these white feminists that black women are want to march for, they're the ones that's still getting married, even though they're preaching to black women, hey, you don't need a man. They're going home to their husbands. This is how I know black women have been finessed with feminism, because the feminists are married to their white husbands, while black women think they don't need a husband.
True.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Listen, no lies detected. He's absolutely correct. This is why I agree with what they're saying, because it is the truth. A lot of black women have been finessed, and they're still being finessed. They've been finessed into thinking that this independent lifestyle is where it's at. And we see it. This is why they speak so highly of being this woman with this independence, and as if they've been held back their entire lives. You would think the women of the past, older women may have this perspective because maybe, that was the case. But some of those women don't even have that mindset. But overarchingly, a lot of women, speak as if somebody literally held them down and stopped them from doing things in this modern age. And so now when they've accumulated any type of success, they have to grandstand. They feel like, I'm better. I worked hard. I deserve a prize. Men owe me something because they weren't there to help me and I had to do it by myself. But that's what you chose. That's what you were taught to do. That's what all of us were taught to do. Live your life in your 20s. Have your fun. Go to college. You don't need a man. You don't need to be tied down in a relationship. This is what I heard even growing up as well. So I know this is what the narrative was when it came to black households, the majority of black households. Not all, but a lot of them. This is why we have the majority of our women who think this way. But then at some point, I could see if you thought that way and you never ever wanted to get a man, you never ever wanted a relationship, and you just live your life completely by yourself for the rest of your life, then that would be understandable. But no, most of these women end up in relationships, having babies with men, creating broken homes, becoming single mothers. And then some of them want a man to be committed to them and have marriages and all of these things, but they still have this independent mindset that they were taught to have. But you want men to be traditional while you be independent boss chicks. And it doesn't work like that. And so I think when it comes to the feminist movement, yes, a lot of black women bought into that narrative. Oh, I don't need a man. I could take care of myself, when in many cases they need to depend on the government in order to take care of them and their kids. And a lot of times it's not even a thought of women to want to go and get married. Like I said, growing up, a lot of young women never even thought about marriage. A lot of them just thought, oh, I just want a kid. And we hear this in today's society, young girls saying, I don't know if I want to be married, but I want a child. It's indoctrinated. It's been imprinted. It's been brainwashed into the minds of black women to believe that they really don't need a man. And also on top of that, when you say you don't need a man, you're saying your children don't need fathers. But then you don't create, a scenario for yourself or ever really think about it, about being married first before you have children. But then you complain about the fathers not being in the children's lives. But if you prioritize marriage, and if that was the goal, then you would not make broken homes with men who weren't ready to be fathers. You would prioritize marriage first and then have a family. But the majority of our women don't do that. They don't even think about it. And now it's done on purpose. You have women out here who are choosing fertility drugs, in vitro and fertilization to go and have babies to become single mothers because they don't have a man, because they never prioritize a man. The goal was to prioritize your business, prioritize your education. And this is what a lot of the mothers told these young women. Don't worry about a man in your 20s. That's when you should have been prioritizing a man and getting a husband while you still go to college. You could still go to school. Every other group of people do this. I don't know how many times I've seen this, how many times I've said it, how many times I've heard other people say it, because it's the truth. I remember being young and working with college age young women who were in college and guess what? Engaged. White young women, Asian young women, engaged in college. because they understood the assignment, because that's the way they were taught. In our community, we weren't taught that. We were taught the opposite. Don't focus on a man. Go have your fun. That means run up that body count. And then when you do that, you end up having a baby. You all end up go to college and come back with a baby. And now you're a baby mother. So it becomes the norm in our communities. And they don't see the problem with that until they get older. And then when they trying to force somebody to want to take them on and their children, and men don't want to do it, then they want to say it's the men. It's the fault of the men. When you bought into an ideology or an idea that really was not in your best interest, you bought into feminism thinking that that was the way out, and you was going to be able to have this boss chick mentality, buy into this indoctrination that you don't need your men. And like he said, a lot of these women who created these feminist movements, they had husbands. Ain't that a blimp? They have husbands. The majority of them they go home to a man. They're men. And they trying to convince you don't need your men because it was done on purpose. And a lot of y'all don't see it even to this day. It's like the most educated, you want to say that you are, but you don't really see what's happening. You don't see how this is going to negatively impact you. When all else fails and you're the only one holding the bag, and that bag falls apart, because it will, because that's a part of life. We all go through ups and downs, ebbs and flows. We all have had financial issues at some point where the money is great and then the money is not so great. You still stay afloat, but you know that that's the way life is. It's ebbs and flows. It's not a consistent level of wealth the whole time. You gain money, you lose money. That's just life. Everybody understands that, but except for people in the Black community, it seems like. You think that because you have a good job or you have a business that it's always going to stay afloat and stay constant, when we know it's not, because most people who start businesses, most of those businesses don't even make it. A lot of businesses fail within the first 3 years. So you got to understand that it's a part of life. The same thing when you're in a relationship. It has ebbs and flows, ups and downs. You go through things are good, but you learn how to navigate those issues and you better your situation. But these women have been sold a bill of goods that is not going to benefit them. And they're sitting around thinking that, oh, this is okay. And then when you end up by yourself and everything is falling on you and you can't handle it, then they're depressed and mad and trying to blame somebody. If you're going to blame somebody, blame the feminists who you bought into, and blame yourself mainly for allowing you to believe that type of hype when those women had their white husbands, like he said. And y'all don't even believe in marriage. You never have, but you believe in having babies. You never thought about marriage. You never thought about building with a man. Everything now you want, everything in 10 bags of chips just handed over to you. What man in his right mind is going to work hard for what he's accomplished just to go over and hand it to you, and you don't even want to be the type of woman that he would need you to be for the relationship to thrive. A lot of women in our community and men, some men have been indoctrinated into this idea that superficial things are most important, and you got to look like money, and you got to do all this stuff when none of that really matters, and it's showing and it's causing a problem. And a lot of these people want to portray themselves and make themselves look like they got it going on when they really don't. So you could lie to yourselves and think this boss chick independent lifestyle is where it's at when it's really not. And you can always build better with two people putting together versus one. And so I just really wish our women would learn better and do better and get it so we can have better outcomes, because once again, they have definitely been indoctrinated into something that these people knew that this was not going to be beneficial. They understood. They don't do that in their communities. I'm not saying their communities I don't think their communities are perfect at all by a long shot, but they understood that, hey, we're better together than apart. And not all of them are separate, but they have higher rates of marriage and togetherness than we do. So the majority of them understand that it's important that the family is intact, that the a stable foundation is what stands the test of time. But if you're moving on a barely there weak foundation, then it's going to crumble at some point. You're not going to be able to maintain it. So if we don't start really getting to the bottom of this and focusing on the things that really matter, like stable, solid 2-parent households and raising our kids and being there for our kids, and stop worried about Cardi B and superficial things and get to the root of what's going to make your family last and grow, it's just gonna be a hot mess. And that's just what it's gonna be for some people, because if they never get it and never try to do anything about it, it's gonna be a stinking hot mess, in my opinion. So baby, listen, chime in. I want to hear your thoughts on this topic. Let me know your thoughts on it. Make sure you chime in the comments below. I want to hear what you have to say, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.